so at a loss to explain what is causing this weather and why it has taken them by surprise.
That sudden drop in temperature as half an hour ago, Mexican officials closed the border in the light of so many U.S. refugees.
We prepare to go live to Los Angeles.
Are you getting this on camera? What you see is happening now.
Look over there behind me! That's a tornado! Yes! A twister!
This is just massive.
Saturday's eruption was the latest round since an alert over the volcano was increased to the highest level earlier this month. Scientists say volcanic activity remains high.
As the deputy threatened to drop him to the ground, she did. Witnesses say the officer punched the boy, who's 12 or 13 years old, in the face. The officer put him in a headlock, they say, and tased him twice in the back.
New tonight, a wave of small sea creatures that washed on shore, and everybody is talking about them at local beaches today. Check this out. You can see how far the tide came up right here. Wow, it's a line of hundreds of tuna crabs.
Woo! Slow motion for you. Slow motion for you. This was taken Tuesday when storms rolled through. At one point, Daytona saw more than 500 lightning strikes in just, oh, you gotta look at that again.
That is
in just
so
an hour and a half.
cool.
Today, a judge in Cleveland says there is enough evidence to bring criminal charges against 2 police officers in the fatal shooting of a young boy. The charges include murder. But whether the officers are actually charged will be up to a grand jury. Dean Reynolds tells us that activists used an obscure state law to have the judge weigh in as a way to pressure the prosecutors for an indictment.
The shooting took place 7 months ago and was captured on video. That's 12-year-old Tamir Rice waving what turned out to be a toy gun. A 911 caller that day alerted police and said the gun might be fake.
You know, it's probably fake, but he's like pointing it at everybody.
But that information was never transmitted to the 2 officers who responded, and the boy was shot less than 2 seconds after they arrived. Tonight, a municipal judge in effect said both officers on the scene should be charged. Timothy Lohman, who opened fire, with murder, and his partner Frank Garmbach with negligent homicide. The officers are white, Rice was black. Community activists have been pushing for action, and on Tuesday they tried to force the issue. Reverend Jawanza Colvin.
The Ohio Revised Code allows for any person who believes that a crime has been committed the legal option to make their case directly known to the courts. We have done just that.
But the finding by Judge Ronald Adrien is seen as largely symbolic, Scott. It will not force the hand of the prosecutor, Timothy McGinty, who released a statement tonight saying that the ultimate decision on charges is up to the grand jury and always has been.
Dean Reynolds with the breaking story tonight. Dean, thank you.
Action News 4 reporter Caitlin Sykes live now with a look at that aftermath. Caitlin.
Yeah, we got pretty lucky here in Allegheny County. You can see around me no storm damage to talk about this morning here, but in other counties like Butler, Armstrong, Lawrence counties, a much different story. In fact, take a look at this video. You can see the aftermath of some of the damage from this storm that snapped trees all over Center Township in Butler County, some blocking roads, others landing on power lines, some of those power lines even falling onto roadways. High winds even ripped siding off of homes in Slippery Rock Township. Hail even damaged some houses. People living in these areas say heavy rain caused whiteouts at time. Today, they're cleaning up.
It was scary. I got the dogs and ran to the basement because I thought it was a tornado. That's what it looked like.
Now, officials haven't said if it was a tornado, but luckily this morning no one was hurt. Reporting live, Caitlin Sykes, Pittsburgh's Action News 4.
All right, Caitlin, thank you. And remember, when severe weather strikes our area, you can check the forecast on the go. Just download Pittsburgh's Action Weather app. You can get alerts sent right to your phone. Just search for WTAE in your app store.
Here's some video from Daytona Beach. We slowed down. Wow!
Oh, that was a good one.
Woo!
Slow motion for you. Slow motion for you. This was taken Tuesday when storms rolled through. At one point, Daytona saw more than 500 lightning strikes in just, oh, you got to look at that again.
That is
in just
so
an hour and a half.
Cool.
I like at the end how it's still just kind of hanging.
Yeah, almost like those fireworks when they dissipate.
Yeah.
That's neat. One more time.
One more time. There we go.
We're trying to keep them alive, but it makes me really sad.
New tonight, a wave of small sea creatures that washed on shore, and everybody is talking about them at local beaches today. Well, check this out. You can see how far the tide came up right here. Wow, it's a line of hundreds of tuna crabs. 10 News reporter Hannah Mullins gives us a close-up look.
They're not just washing up here in Ocean Beach. They're all over the coastline, south in Tijuana and up north in La Jolla.
It's like gross.
It looked like red kelp until you got closer.
Creepy.
But what were they?
Crayfish, tuna crab, tuna crab, tuna crab.
Presley and Brinley Loader weren't fans.
Especially one moving.
There were too many to count.
So many.
Big Brother, the future scientist, had a theory.
I believe because the temperature changed in the ocean, and they weren't used to it.
He probably knew all about the swarms off Baja during warm spells and how it's not that bizarre for them to beach themselves in masses.
Yeah.
But you couldn't keep these boys away during their field trip. If you think they were up to no good, listen in.
We need more water, first of all. Most of them are dead. We're trying to save the ones that are alive.
We started throwing them back in, but we noticed that they kept on going back.
It's kind of horrifying because some of them are being crushed, some of them are being buried and or eaten by seagulls and stuff.
It's quite the bird buffet, but I wouldn't join in since scientists don't know why they washed up, and I don't think the Loader girls would either.
She's just scared to touch one.
Hannah Mullins, 10 News.
Brave little girls and really sweet boys trying to save an entire beach of those crabs.
I think it's really interesting that they are so interested in it. I mean, we could have some future scientists right there.
Yeah, I have a feeling more to hear on this story as well. Folks from the Scripps Institution of Oceanography say that sample tests are being done, which should be finished in about a week.
Joining me to discuss the procedure is Mr. Matthew Crocker. He is a consultant neurosurgeon at St George's Hospital. Welcome to you. Indeed. Let's just look at this process. According to Dr. Canavera, the first stage will involve the patient and donor's bodies being cooled down so the brain cells don't die during the operation. And then the neck will be partially cut through. And the blood vessels will then be connected to the other body with tubes. So far, so simple?
So simple, yes. I mean, I haven't done any of these myself recently, but in theory, every section has a grounding in science and in a certain amount of medical practice. So the practice of cutting or excluding blood vessels that supply the brain from the circulation and then restoring that circulation temporarily to the brain with tubes is very well recognised.
And what do you gain from lowering the temperature?
again, lowering the temperature of the whole body and hence the brain to between 10 and 20 degrees, usually around 15 to 70 degrees, is a very well recognised technique used for complex neurosurgery or cardiovascular surgery, in which there is an expectation that the brain will be starved of its blood and oxygen supply for a substantial period.
Okay, well, let's move on then, because the next stage is that the spinal cord is cut with a very sharp knife to minimise damage, and the donor head is then moved onto the recipient's body, and the spinal cord is fused together with a substance called polyethylene glycol, which is hope will repair the joint. I mean, I can just about remember my organic chemistry. That doesn't sound like a particularly sophisticated substance to do that.
Well, it's a form of glue, and again, the idea of cutting the spinal cord sharply rather than bluntly has a little medical support, in terms of the fact that the only successful, or the well-recognised success with spinal cord injury surgery came from a man who had a stab injury rather than a blunt injury to the cord.
I mean, I've got to ask you, at this point, someone is having their head cut off, which
so they are.
Most people would normally define as death, really. I mean, is it okay to cut someone's head off for a doctor to do it?
Well, I'm not sure any of this is really okay, and it requires a little more thought, doesn't it? But yes, your point is entirely reasonable. At what point one dies, I believe your ethicist might have a consideration about that. But the heart is routinely stopped in open heart surgery, of course. In cardiac surgery, that's no longer unusual.
So this is the next step, putting together the muscle and the blood vessels. I mean, has this ever been done on this scale?
On this scale? No, I'm sure it has.
Yeah. And then we move on, and the body, after the operation is successful, is kept in a coma for several weeks to prevent people moving, and presumably so everything fuses together.
Yeah, I presume. One can reattach or screw together the spinal column, and that's done very regularly for injuries and so forth, and those people do not need to be kept in a coma. The idea of this, I presume, is to allow the gluing of the spinal cord to take root and so forth, but again, that is very speculative to be.
I mean, we have seen arms and legs reattached, haven't we?
Of course, yes, many times, yeah.
But that's a lot simpler than presumably doing a spinal cord.
Well, the spinal cord is, of course, to state the obvious, the central issue here. And an arm and leg have nerves, have arteries, veins, and muscles and bones. But the issue here is the fact that someone with a spinal cord which is functioning, has a neurological function, however difficult, is facing having that completely removed with surgery.
New information about a close call involving American and Russian military planes. Tonight we are learning there were 2 Russian jets involved. The encounter with one described as unsafely close. ABC's chief global affairs reporter Martha Raddatz in Washington tonight. And Martha, unsafely close, what exactly does that mean?
Well, it means that Russian jet could have been as little as 10 feet away from the U.S. reconnaissance plane, although it is hard for the crew to say exactly since it happened so fast. What we did learn today is that the Russian jet approached directly behind the U.S. aircraft, passed right underneath it, and then came up to the right side of the plane. All of those hot dog maneuvers way too close. And the thing to remember here is that the American plane is a big, lumbering aircraft that does not have the maneuverability of a fighter jet. The Russians clearly flexing muscles, but a dangerous game, Amy, if someone makes a mistake.
health alert now. The warm weather is bringing a rare bacteria back to Florida beaches, a deadly bacteria. It's linked to raw shellfish, but the bacteria somehow survives in salt water. ABC's Gloria Riviera with the details and with what you can do to stay safe.
Tonight, a worrisome and potentially fatal threat to beachgoers is back. Vibrio vulnificus, a rare bacteria Florida health officials say has already killed 2 people and infected 5 more in that state. In Biloxi, Mississippi, 25-year-old Jennifer McLeland lost her leg after becoming infected.
The doctor just woke me up and told me I didn't have a leg.
Health officials say the bacteria enters the bloodstream through open cuts or scrapes. It can also be contracted by eating undercooked shellfish. Jennifer, who beat leukemia as a child, had a small abrasion in between her toes. The bacteria thrives in warm seawater. Symptoms can include fever, chills, skin lesions, and even septic shock.
If you have an open wound or cut, child, adult should be aware that there's a risk associated.
It can be treated with antibiotics. Gloria Riviera, ABC News, Washington.
More than 5,000 air, sea, and ground troops have taken part in a beach landing on the Swedish coast on Saturday as part of a NATO exercise Operation Belltops 2015. About 50 warships, over 60 aircraft, and 1 submarine from 17 countries are involved in this year's exercise, which began early this month and will last until June the 20th. NATO said the exercise demonstrates the resolve of allied and partner forces to defend the Baltic region. Belltops remains a U.S.-led exercise, but this year NATO is responsible for its execution. It comes as the New York Times reported on Saturday that Washington intends to station heavy military equipment in several Baltic and Eastern European countries to deter any possible further threats from Russia. The paper also said the proposal is expected to be approved by U.S. Defense Secretary Ash Carter and the White House before a NATO defense ministers meeting in Brussels this month.
A hippopotamus wanders the roads of Georgia's capital Tbilisi, freed from captivity by a deadly storm. Elsewhere, a brown bear takes refuge on an air conditioning unit, while a big cat lurks around the doorway of a building. Heavy rainfall late on Saturday sent flash floods surging through Tbilisi. Dozens of properties have also been destroyed, leaving many families homeless, with the city's mayor suggesting the repair bill will run into the tens of millions of dollars. With large parts of the zoo still underwater, it's unclear how many animals have perished or how many are still on the loose. And that will only be known after all the mud and debris is cleared from the enclosures.
The water has killed all the monkeys, jaguars and 3 lions have been drowned. A part of the carnivore section where tigers and lions were kept is completely destroyed.
One by one the animals are being cornered. Some killed, others recaptured using tranquilizer darts.
Animals that have escaped from the zoo have been captured. We were forced to kill some of them. The area they were roaming around was huge. 2 small bears have been found 15 kilometers from the zoo.
As yet, there's no reports the animals have attacked humans, though 3 zoo workers are confirmed to have died in the flooding. Among them, a zookeeper who lost an arm in a tiger attack last month. Tbilisi's 1 million residents have been warned to stay indoors until the remaining animals can be found and recaptured. Andrew Potter, Al Jazeera.
Indonesia's Mount Sinabung has erupted again, forcing 2,700 people to evacuate their homes. Columns of ash spewed as high as 3 kilometers and lava spread around 1 kilometer to the south and east. No casualties were reported. Saturday's eruption was the latest round since an alert over the volcano was increased to the highest level earlier this month. Scientists say volcanic activity remains high. Mount Sinabung is one of nearly 130 active volcanoes in Indonesia, which stands along the Ring of Fire volcanic belt around the shores of the Pacific Ocean. Over tens of thousands of residents were evacuated in its last deadly eruption in February 2014, which killed 11 people.
There is a journalistic duel going on in London. The focus, whether top secret U.S. intelligence codes were cracked by Russia and China. One top publication reported Moscow and Beijing accessed computer files revealed by former CIA contractor Edward Snowden. But journalist Glenn Greenwald, who broke the story on the NSA leak, says much of what was written is a pack of lies. In one example, the report says Snowden downloaded 1.7 million documents. Greenwald says the reporting is baseless.
The NSA itself says that they have no idea how many documents Edward Snowden downloaded, that they're not able ever to figure it out because their systems don't allow that. And so the article is just filled with lies in order to help these anonymous people in government who are too cowardly to say these claims themselves.
Reports say Britain is moving intelligence agents because their operations may be compromised and their identities revealed, and that the files contain intelligence techniques and information that could allow Western intelligence officers to be identified.
From the Scripps Studios, this is San Diego's news source, 10 News.
He's tasting what the man?
10 News is learning new information about what led up to this struggle between a San Diego sheriff's deputy and a 12-year-old boy. The man who shot the video tells us it all started when the deputy approached the boy in the video, a reported runaway, and told him to get in the patrol car. 10 News reporter Emily Valdez spoke to the man behind the camera. She is live in Fallbrook with what the boy's friends are saying about the incident tonight.
Yeah, the boys tell me that they're absolutely horrified. They say that they often skateboard behind the shopping center here in Fallbrook. Usually they say the cops are very nice to them, but this time it was different. It turned violent and the boys whipped out their cell phones.
Like, he wasn't even a police officer at that point. He was just being a freaking some bum beating up a kid.
And the boys tell me they were skateboarding when the deputy called to the boy and told him to get on the ground. The boy said no, and the deputy threatened to drop him to the ground, which he did. Witnesses say the officer punched the boy, who's 12 or 13 years old, in the face. The officer put him in a headlock, they say, and tased him twice in the back. Ironically, you can hear on the video his friends screaming for someone to call the police as they were watching this unfold, even forgetting for a moment that this is a law enforcement officer.
The officer punches him right here, on the jaw, and then he tases him 2 times, and then he's also choking him at the same time when he gets tased.
I was kind of shocked. I was just never seen this ever in my life, first time ever, and then I didn't know what to do, so I kind of just pulled out my camera and then started doing it, tried to do it low key because I was kind of afraid in a way.
And the little boy's friends told me tonight that the boy was arrested for a felony for allegedly biting the officer, so he does have a court date this week. And we also put in a call to the Sheriff's Department. The spokeswoman, Jan Caldwell, I emailed her, says, can you tell us what happened? And she said she would not be speaking to us tonight. So we, of course, have no side of their story, no events, or we don't have any version from their side. We don't know what they think happened. I'm live in Fallbrook. Emily Valdez, 10 News.
dangerous wildfire in Alaska is exploding in size. The blaze grew from 2 acres to more than 6,000 overnight. A massive plume can be seen for miles. The fire reportedly burned up to 15 buildings in the Willow area that's located about 40 miles north of Anchorage. More than 2,000 people are under evacuation advisories, and officials say the fire was sparked by humans. No injuries have been reported.